All right, welcome to the Prowl podcast. I'm Trevor Grice, and I'm here with my podcast partners.
Chris Wilcox.
And Diana Stevens.
Thank you for tuning in to episode 1. We're here kind of getting started with what we're going to hope to do for this season as well as other seasons here in the Caro community, and that is to report on all things Caro, sometimes focus on athletics, but mostly Caro youth and Caro sports.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate, Trevor. I mean, that's what was discussed, and I'm looking forward to it. We got a lot of sports teams here in Caro, and a lot of very high academic youth here in Caro as well.
So before we kind of go into detail about why we decided to do this, we'll talk a little bit about who each of us is. So my name is Trevor Grice. I'm a psychologist by trade. I coach baseball and some basketball, volunteer at a couple different organizations, and have really been focused on developing youth and adding to the youth experience as much as possible. Because as a psychologist, I know investing time in youth at a young age pays dividends later in their life. And that's a big reason why I'm here today.
Well, just from that, I think you psychologically took me over. But so my name is Chris Wilcox, father of two. I've got a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old here in Caro schools. And I've been a coach, volunteer coach, and a non-volunteer coach, I guess you could say, or volunteer coach. I also do travel baseball along with coaching here on a volunteer level. So outside of that, I work sales at a local shop over in Millington. How about you, Diana?
All right, and I'm Diana Stevens. I'm Trevor's wife, and we both have, Trevor didn't mention it, but we're both Caro alumni. We have 2 kids that go to Caro schools, both student athletes, an incoming 8th grader and 10th grader. I work in Caro. I volunteer a lot in Caro, and I have coached in Caro. Previously, I've coached girls volleyball at the freshman level, and I have coached boys at the 14U level.
Yep, thank you. And I'm sorry to my children for me forgetting them, but my wife would probably tell you that happens quite a bit. So
Hey.
Yeah,
there it is, right there.
Just
the applause. Yeah, just for admitting it. Yeah, that's usually what happens. And by the way, in case anybody is wondering, I am not a Caro alum. So if you kind of want to, I guess, back up on me, I am a Kingston alum from the Thumb area. So.
And he's the only one wearing Caro Tigers gear today.
I am the only one wearing Caro Tigers gear tonight. That is correct.
All right, so that's a little bit about who we are. I think the bigger question is why. If any of you know us, you're probably like, when and where do these guys have time to do anything like this? And I think the why is important. And I want to start with Diana because I really have to give her credit for this being her idea when it comes to this one source philosophy for information. So, Di?
I guess I'm always just I'm a glutton for punishment, always looking for more things to do. But really this started because even back several years ago, I was trying to follow Caro sports, like Caro school sports. And I'd have a hard time finding out what they did. I went to the football game. We left at halftime because it was raining. Did they end up winning or not? What happened? Or I stopped coaching volleyball, so I was still very curious how they were doing, but couldn't go to every game. And I wonder how they did tonight. So just things like that. I wanted to know what was going on with Caro sports. And sometimes there would be posts that would come through on Facebook through the school, or maybe that coach would post to the website, but it wasn't always consistent. So I wanted one place to go where I could find out information about what was going on with Caro sports. And the advertiser sometimes does that for us too, but they're covering the entire county, so that you may or may not be able to find the results from the sports you're looking for. So that's kind of what sparked the interest.
That's but you're exactly right there, Diana. So, as far as the advertiser goes, you're right. They cover the entire county, and it's hard to find that one particular score you may be looking for right away. And, the only other, places you could potentially go, and you don't know if they're accurate, are on the social media pages. And if they're there, they're there. If they're not, they're not. Trevor could tell me one score, and you may tell me another score, and now the score is mixed up. We're just trying to give you an accurate source is what we're trying to do.
You can go to MHSAA sometimes, but those are updated late at night. Yep. At best for that. And then we actually had this conversation the other day with somebody about MLive. Yeah. We're in an area where we kind of get ignored. And some people might say, well, it's up to the coaches to let MLive and all these people know that. And there might be some truth to that, but being coaches, when a game is over, sometimes that's almost like in terms of coming down and getting over the game or looking at game tape, which I often like to do right afterwards. Reporting that score tends to be the last thing on your mind, and so I can very much understand why sometimes coaches don't do that. So
yeah, there's a lot of times, right? I mean, and rightfully so, because they're busy with everything else.
So that's Diana's approach, and as we talked more about it, one of the things that really kind of stood out for me was this idea of kind of rebuilding a pride in Caro. Diana talked about how, I am a Caro alumni, class of 1997. And that was I understand that it was a different time, and I don't need to make myself sound like I'm 65 years old and back in my day, like that's not what this is about. However, when there was a basketball game, and it wasn't just my grade, and we had a unique situation with, a D1 college basketball player who went to the University of Michigan that was on the team that I was a part of. It would fill gyms, and it filled gyms everywhere. I mean, to the point where in Birch Run one day, there was so many people that condensation was on the floor and we were slip sliding all over, and that was an issue that would happen in that gym, particularly when there was a lot of people there. But coming out to a gym where, if you're familiar, this is a Caro podcast, so you should be familiar with the upper gym when that's out in full every time. And how many games, Chris, have you come to where you've seen that filled from top to bottom?
One.
All right. And how many times was it a Caro game?
Not very many.
Right. Because I'm thinking about districts and regionals last year when it was pretty full. And so recently, that's just not the case. And so getting back to that, providing a great environment for our kids, having the community come out and support them, whether it be there or at the football field, and building that pride in the community to show everybody, hey, this is something that we value and something that we're going to invest our time and energy in. And I think this is what the podcast part of it's going to be, which is going to be kind of on me, where I hope to do is connect all of you to some of these kids and some of these coaches and some of the things that are happening at the school in order to, if you build that connection, foster that connection, there'll be an investment there. And that's kind of what I'm hoping. Chris?
It's a pride in the community, right? I mean, you got to be prideful of what you have in the community and what's there. And, it's a pretty big deal athletic wise when you can look back, not just athletics, but academics as well. And you can say, wow, I was a part of that. That's a big deal. I mean, that's a huge deal. Adeline Moore, as an example, use her as an example. I mean, not just a fantastic athlete, but a role model on the academic side as well. So, to look back and, not only can she say that she was a student athlete, but she can say that, more importantly, academics was a high standard for her.
Absolutely. And I think this other part is giving youth a little shout out from time to time.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And not just, the one, Adeline would be a great example. I think we use this in one of our build-up questions. Like, yeah, you could give her player of the game almost every game. That's who Adeline was, but that's not what the purpose of this is going to be. Obviously, Adeline is a huge member of Caro Sports in the past and is going on to do even bigger and better things. But to highlight Caro youth and what they're doing in other areas, maybe it's at the play or this one particular play from this one kid who might not ever get noticed in the paper, but we noticed it at a game and it was a huge play, or that the coach shouted out, and maybe we can give him or her an interview.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, I mean, it could be exactly that, just that one play that made separation of the game and or turn the event of the game. It is all that and then some. I know, we were kind of talking about setting this up. It's you start looking at the youth and you look at whether it's maybe it's choir or it's a play or whatever it may be, to utilize those, because academics is a huge part of success, not only within the community but outside of the community as well. And to see these kids go on and advance in the colleges that they go to, and then later on get the jobs, and it truly is a big deal. And I like looking back on that and seeing those youth and seeing where they went.
And I know as co-coaches on some baseball teams, and we've talked about this with some of our other coaches, that a lot of what we're doing is for the future, right?
Yeah, it's not for the now.
I mean, there is some aspects of the now, but it's weddings, it's graduation parties, it's getting called coach for hopefully many years after this, knowing that we had an impact on them to become good humans, good parents, good siblings, et cetera, right? I mean, that's why we do what we do. Just with all the conversations we've had. So, and we could talk about this a lot, and this is what we try to focus on. There's gonna be a lot of this that's focused on sports, because we're all three of us that are here are are kind of big sports fans, but it's not going to only be that. And so as you guys are listening and you feel that some kids, some youth need a little shout out in a different area, let us know. By all means, we may not be as connected into the drama department or the, as Chris mentioned, the choir department, but if something big is happening there and youth need to get a shout out, then by all means we can do that here, because we're trying not to be exclusive.
Yep, right? Absolutely.
So that's kind of why we're here. And I think the next step is where we're going from. This is just an introduction episode. And if you're listening to this, you probably can see that there's 2 other episodes. Interview 2 is going to be what, Chris?
Well, we're going to be talking to Coach Rob McDaniel, the first-year head varsity coach for the football program. I have a couple questions for him, just kind of see where he's from, what he plans on doing with the program itself, and just a couple side questions just to see where he's at and to see what he's really looking on focusing at here in Carroll.
And then episode 3, which should be on there, and we're looking at recording here just after this, is the importance of time. Just kind of talking about what the value of time is in a community, in particular with volunteering, but also just giving back to the kids. And so those are going to be 3 episodes that you should have your access right now to be able to listen to get started. And then from then on, we're going to release more episodes at an undetermined rate. Could be...
Undetermined's a great vocabulary word. Yeah. I love it.
So it could be multiple times a week. It could be one time a month, depending on how things are going. There are dead times in Carroll athletics or in youth high school athletics. What are we going to talk about in the summer? Like if we make it all the way to next summer, like probably not much, just some updates. So there's not going to be any known pattern when it comes to the podcast. We do have some future ideas. Chris, couple that you had where I think talking to maybe the AD, is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, we're gonna get an insight on Josh Hess, the AD up here, as long as he's so willing to at least give me the interview, I should say.
No pressure.
Right? Yeah, no pressure at all. But as long as he's able to give that interview and he wants to give that interview, I think it's going to be a great talking point just to kind of see what the workings are of an AD at a kind of a larger school, right? We are a county seat here in Tuscola County. Swimming, tennis, golf, bowling, soccer, football, baseball, basketball, volleyball. I mean, the list goes on. I don't know if I said tennis. Thanks, Diana. Esports. I forgot about that already. That's already coming up. But it's one of those that you look at and man, he's got his plate full. That's all. And as most know where it comes from. How do you eat a full plate? Well, you got to do it one bite at a time, right? It's just like how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. It is what it is. So that's going to be a good interview with the AD Josh Hess, as long as he's willing to. I'm sure I can get him to commit though.
Then we're hopefully to have some hope. Hopefully we're going to have other interviews with coaches and youth as the season's going, because football happens next week, Thursday.
Yep.
Right, is the first football game. And then volleyball's a couple weeks after that I know for sure. We got cross country happening, boys soccer is going to get started up. And then they're going to be back in school, so other events will be happening. So then we'll have results to report. And then every now and then a topic will come up that will be of interest to the 3 of us, and we'll put it out there. And if there's a topic you'd like people to talk about, by all means, you can message us or get a hold of us, which is our segue into how do you find and follow us? Because the Prowl podcast is just part of something a little bit bigger.
Yeah,
so we're going to
is.
hand it off to Diana.
So you'll be able to find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And Twitter. Our handle is at Caro Tigers Den. We may potentially be on TikTok, but no promises there yet. We're still trying. We're old people still trying to figure out how the TikTok works.
Speak for yourself.
Oh, sorry. Maybe Chris will manage the TikTok account.
Probably not, but...
So, and we also have the email address set up, carotigersden@gmail.com. So if you have any ideas or questions or anything like that, you could either reach out to us on one of those social media platforms, especially Facebook Messenger would work well, or you could send us an email at carotigersden@gmail.com.
Yeah, Messenger on Facebook, Twitter is huge. Things of that nature, reporting scores or anything. Messenger, I think, would probably be the best.
Yeah,
currently,
we're still trying to figure that out, but I feel like that would work.
Yep.
That would definitely work. And we also plan on, that will be active a lot more frequently, I imagine, than the podcast will. So we're going to be constantly reporting updates, scores, results, stats, things like that, as we are able to get information from coaches on our social media. So that will be much more active on social media, we anticipate, than the the podcast.
Coaches, be on the lookout.
Coaches, be on the lookout, and the interviews. So, Trevor, I don't know if you're about ready to wrap up, but Diana, I want to tell you thank you for you're kind of the brainchild behind this to a certain level. So I really appreciate the invite. I'm definitely not shy talking, that is, and I'm definitely not shy behind a microphone. So once again, thank you, and I look forward to this. I know it's going to get kicked off, and it's big things are coming.
I think we need to get a small plug out to the Caro Athletic Boosters.
Maybe.
Right? Maybe we'll do that in the next episode.
Maybe there's an episode.
Yeah, tune into episode 3 for more talk about the
There you
Caro
go.
Boosters.
There you go.
All right. So with that, thank you, Chris. Thank you, Diana, for tuning in, for showing up here today. And we hope to hear you on other episodes. Tune into those, come up with ideas. But most importantly, get connected with us on social media. Find those Facebook posts, those on Twitter, and just stay connected with the community. I think that's really what we're trying to do and help you guys do.
And if you're excited about what we're trying to do here, we'd really appreciate sharing. Share our social media pages, share this podcast, help us spread the word.
Yeah, I know there's not a lot of, I don't know of anywhere else where this is happening. And, this is just one of those things we want to build and add value to the community and kind of put Caro, out there for all of us and for others to see, that hey, we're proud to be here and proud of our youth and what's happening here.
Absolutely.
All right. So with that, we'll take off and we'll see you next time.